So guys, something very disturbing happened in the Ogombo area of Ajah, Lagos State, Nigeria on Monday, 21st July 2025. A young lady who was well known in her neighborhood for running a POS business suddenly vanished without a trace. But what her community discovered just 4 days later would shock them to their core. This is a story about greed, betrayal, and how the person closest to you can become your worst enemy when money is involved. In the small low-income neighborhood of Ogombo, people knew each other well. It was the kind of community where everyone noticed when someone was missing from their usual spot. So, when Goodness, a young lady who ran a popular POS business, failed to show up at her usual stand for several days, people began to worry. Goodness was a familiar face in the area. She had built a steady business, helping people with their mobile money transactions, and her customers had come to depend on her services. Her absence was not something that could go unnoticed in such a small community where everyone literally knew everyone else's business. Not much was known about Goodness's background or her family. She seemed to be one of those young people who had moved to Lagos to hustle and make something of herself. What people didn't know was that she lived with her boyfriend in a wooden house in the area. The boyfriend was known to be a dry cleaner, and people often saw them together around the neighborhood. The relationship between Goodness and her boyfriend appeared normal to outsiders. They lived together in what locals called a bacha house, which is a makeshift wooden structure that sheltered the area's low-income residents. However, behind closed doors, trouble had started between the couple, and this trouble would soon lead to a kind of tragedy that no one could have ever imagined. On Thursday, 25th July 2025, residents of Ogombo were going about their daily activities when someone made a horrifying discovery. In a swampy area in an abandoned compound that had been flooded, a body was found floating in the murky water. The corpse was already in a terrible state, swollen and decomposing from days in the water. The sight was so disturbing that those who found it immediately knew something terrible had happened. This was clearly not a case of someone accidentally falling into the water. The condition of the body suggested that it had been there for several days. The news of the floating corpse spread quickly through the small community of Ogombo. In a neighborhood where almost everyone knew each other, news traveled fast and people began to gather around the scene, trying to understand what had happened and who the victim might be. On that same Thursday, when the body was discovered, something very suspicious happened at the local police station. Goodness's boyfriend walked in to file a missing persons report, claiming that his girlfriend had been missing and he was worried about her safety. The timing of this report raised immediate red flags because what the police had was a man claiming his girlfriend was missing on the very same day that a decomposed body had been found in his neighborhood. The coincidence was too convenient to ignore, especially considering that he had waited for 4 whole days since Goodness was last seen before making any report to the police. When the community gathered around the discovered body, it did not take long for people to realize who it was. Despite the decomposition, residents were able to identify the corpse as Goodness, the POS operator who had been missing from her usual business spot for days. The identification left the small community in shock, and as soon as the body was identified as Goodness, the community's attention immediately turned to her boyfriend. In cases like these, the person closest to the victim is usually the first suspect, and this theory held up in this case. He was the one who lived with her, who would know her movements, and who would also be in the best position to know about her whereabouts. A group of young men from the neighborhood immediately went looking for the boyfriend. They knew where he lived, and they were determined to get answers about what had happened to Goodness. However, when they arrived at the house where the boyfriend lived with Goodness, they found that he was not there. This absence only increased their suspicions about his potential involvement in her tragic death. The search party decided to look for the boyfriend's friends, thinking they might know where he was or at least have information about what had happened. What they discovered when they found these friends would blow the case wide open. When the community members and security operatives caught up with some of the boyfriend's friends, their behavior immediately gave them away. Instead of acting like innocent people who were concerned about their friend's missing girlfriend, the friends began to run as if they were guilty of something. The fact that they were running from people who were simply asking questions about Goodness's disappearance made it clear that they knew more than they were letting on. Their guilty behavior suggested that they were involved in whatever had happened to the young POS operator. When the pursuers managed to catch one of the running friends, the truth began to come out under pressure, and probably realizing that there was no point in lying anymore, the friend made a shocking confession. He admitted that the boyfriend was indeed responsible for Goodness's death. But the confession revealed something even more disturbing. This was not a crime committed by just one person acting alone. The friend's statement made it clear that it was a group effort, a planned attack that involved multiple people working together to murder Goodness. The friend tried to minimize his own role in the crime, claiming that all he did was help change the money or keep it in his account. But this admission only confirmed that Goodness had been killed for financial gain, and that her boyfriend had recruited friends to help him carry out this heinous act. With the confession from his friend, the community now had enough evidence to go after the boyfriend with full force. They tracked him down and apprehended him right there in the neighborhood. The boyfriend was dragged through the streets by the angry youths, and as the details of the case began to emerge, the motive for Goodness's murder became clear. The young woman, who had been working hard to build her POS business, had decided to take her enterprise to the next level by obtaining a loan to expand her operations. Goodness had applied and also successfully secured a 500,000 naira loan from OPay, which is a popular financial service provider. This was a substantial amount of money that she planned to inject into her POS business to make it more profitable and sustainable. However, when her boyfriend learned about the loan approval and the amount of money that OPay had granted her, his reaction was not one of support or encouragement. Instead, he saw an opportunity for himself. He demanded that Goodness give him the money instead of using it for her business. When the boyfriend demanded the 500,000 naira loan money, Goodness stood her ground and refused to give it to him. She explained that the money was specifically for her business, the same business that she had been using to support their feeding and shelter. When the boyfriend realized that Goodness was serious about using the loan money for her business and would not be swayed by his demands, he made a decision that would change everything. Instead of accepting her decision or finding other ways to address his financial needs, he chose the path of ultimate betrayal. The boyfriend began to plan Goodness's murder, and he did not intend to carry it out alone. He reached out to some of his friends and told them about the money that Goodness had received from OPay. He painted a picture of easy money that they could take if only they were willing to help him in killing her. Together, they set up a plan to attack Goodness, steal the 500,000 naira, and eliminate her to keep the crime a secret. On Monday, 21st July 2025, the boyfriend and his accomplices put their deadly plan into action. They attacked Goodness in their shared home, overpowered her, and murdered her in cold blood. After taking the money, they carried her body to a flooded area in the neighborhood and dumped it in the swampy water. After murdering Goodness and stealing her money, the boyfriend and his friends divided the 500,000 naira among themselves. The boyfriend then continued to live in the same house as if nothing had happened. For 4 days, he went about his daily routine. He continued going to work as a dry cleaner, continued living in the house that Goodness had been paying for, and also acted as if his girlfriend had simply gone somewhere and would return soon. This behavior showed a shocking lack of conscience and a high level of overconfidence that he would never be caught. Fortunately, the body floated and was seen by community members who then decided to get to the root of the matter. At the time of making this report, not much was known about the background of both the victim and the suspects. The boyfriend is said to be an indigene of Akwa Ibom State. However, his name is yet to be known. Goodness's identity is also yet to be known. Her pictures could not be found online, and likewise any information about her place of origin.
So aláta ló máa rí nǹkan tó wà nú ẹ̀yìnkùlé yẹn ẹ̀gbọ́rùn àbí so ẹ̀gbọ́rùn ìpònú lẹ́pẹ́ ogbó wa wèrè lẹ́pẹ́ ogbó wa.
They keep us, Na person then kill like this, so now one girl then kill. They kill one girl. See them. Come. Follow like this. Follow like this. Follow like this. As a document. The key person. He kill one girl. They tie her. He killing girlfriend. See him. Now he killing girlfriend. See here. He killing. Shut up.
Hey, for inside the streets. Oh, I no mind to lose my battle because of say I can enter this place. I no care.
2 out of the 4 suspects had been arrested and taken into custody, while the remaining 2 are reportedly on the run. Nevertheless, as more information emerges, you will be duly updated. So in light of this, make sure to like, share and subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss out on any updates in this case. Thank you for watching and stay safe.